Hi everyone. Most of you, I know a lot of you, and most of you know I run on some kind of batteries that I cannot stand still, so I apologize. I'm going to move around, hopefully not make you dizzy. And I'm going to talk very quickly because I have about 10 minutes to, don't fall asleep anybody. I have about 10 minutes to actually do inspiration, which is an important component. I have a new job. I just got a new job, so your printed title thing keeps switching in my neighborhood. And I am now a senior fellow in a newly formed group within TLOs called Innovation Catalyst Group. So I am fully authorized to catalyze your innovation in the realm of teaching and learning, and particularly technology-enhanced active learning, teal, a great color, and a good way to engage learners. I am, like Yana, excited to be here, and will be here the next day and a half, and very much look forward to engaging with all of you. If your questions come up, I will learn as much from you or more than you will learn from me. But what I want to do today is take this opportunity because, like our learners, if we don't inspire, we get compliant, extrinsic motivation. We've all seen that. Will this be on the exam? Do I need to know this? Did I miss anything when I was out Wednesday? And so, yes, I'm here to inspire you so that the work you do is inspired, not compliant. Because this is what I love about this. We have a fabulous Office of Gen Ed and a provost, and now a new provost into the 21st century, where this is an opportunity for us, and I hope we seize it, to really rethink our curricular and pedagogical redesign. And for me, those always go together. And I also want to start off by saying, when we talk about, what I'm going to talk about is the intercultural and global integrated aspect of the Pathways courses. You are all experts, sorry, this is humming and buzzing and whatnot, sorry. You're all experts in your areas, plural. You're experts in what you do. So the cool thing about this is leveraging your expertise, your 30,000-foot level thinking, so that what you do is truly take a moment to reinvent in ways you'd like to, a Gen Ed course, reimagining general education, a generalizable education for the 21st century for all learners, and your pedagogical praxis. Curricular redesign without rethinking your pedagogy, they always are hand in hand, or at least it's an opportunity for them to be hand in hand. And so let's seize that while we're here, and your expertise will be what we support as you figure out outcomes and activities and assessment. All right. Innovative pedagogical praxis. This is really hard to see from there, but we can get you a copy if you're interested. The notion of creative classroom engagement for 21st century learners tied into your discipline is very important. How many of you, has anyone seen Tomorrowland yet, besides me? Yeah.
I have.
I saw a review recently, I think it was David Edelstein maybe, because there's this scene where our fabulous Casey Newton is in school, wants to answer the question, and what is the teacher doing in her 11th grade science class? Wham, 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 the world is coming to an end. Here's the science behind it, revealing, and she wants to engage with a problem of how do we then move it forward, right? And there's no agency in that. And David Edelstein review says, don't shoot the messenger of the teacher. And I'm saying, well, we don't need to harm anyone teaching. But indeed, if you're not actively, if you're doing passive content, consumption in your classroom, it's probably not helping the Casey Newtons or anyone else. So what I think is important when we think about the intercultural and global is to remember that always already your classrooms, no matter what they look like, even at a predominantly white institution like Virginia Tech, that inclusion and inclusive pedagogy is something that we should all be doing as we engage with learners. And well, that's not a really piece of that. If you want to talk about that, it goes part and parcel with some of your curricular redesign. We can do that. We have lots of folks who focus on that. Martin Luther King, back in 1963, in the 3rd century, said, democracy is successful because, right, it's inclusive, substantive, and transformative. Wow, great guidance for 21st century education, higher education, all education, and certainly general education. All right, so intercultural and global awareness, most of you know, and this is pulled from Bennett, and it's right off of the AAC&U site that informs the work that happens in our pathways, integrative outcomes. And what I like about this is it reminds us cognitive, affective, and behavioral skills. We have hands-on, minds-on. We need hearts all in, and that's something we don't think about enough. And this aspect, intercultural global engagement, and thinking of redesigning your class so that your learners have agency to act, to figure out application of knowledge in complex ways, attentive to diversity and difference. It's very, very important, and it should be, the affect should be engaged as well. It should not just be content alone. All right, and here are, they're in handouts, I'm sure. Here are the three that you do the majority of, so two or three of these. And we don't have time today, but talking about case study pedagogy as a way to even engage ethical dilemmas that have intercultural components. In fact, it's pretty difficult very often to pull those apart. They go together very well. So you may find out as you're doing this work here that what you're doing are tapping on both the E and the ICG as you try to rethink what you're doing. All right. Okay. Something that needs to be said as I think early and often, there is often a misperception, and not with the folks in this room. I think this is the choir, so outside of this room, if you talk about interculture, you talk about indoctrination. You're telling someone how to think. Well, actually, you shouldn't be doing that probably in any way with your content. You should be, though, gently, and that is an important modifier, disrupting, right, unexamined cultural assumptions. I just had this happen to me, and I try to stay on my toes and do this work a lot, watching, I think it might have been 60 Minutes. Anyone see 60 Minutes this weekend? CBS Sunday morning, where it was talking about that entrepreneurial innovation where a creative entrepreneur had made glasses cheaply for everyone in Mexico, or kids in Mexico. He was asked to do this, or he saw this as a problem he wanted to solve, because the Mexican government distributes glasses, cheap eyewear that young individuals in Mexico, young kids, wouldn't wear. So they're, literally not being able to engage, learn, and bump into things because they don't want this distributed eyewear. So what he did was design these cool, I wanted a pair, colored, you could sit on them, right, and did it at a very cost-effective price for the Mexican government. And it has all these, the kids with their new glasses going, yeah. And the point was that why is it that we would assume because an individual can't afford to go purchase in a range and have the choice consumer, option, that they should get, the cheap, unattractive? Why do these things have to go together? And I sat there eating, going, oh, because I don't know where I got it, some parental truism, beggars can't be choosers, which is a fraught, horrible thing to say anyway. And it just ripped it open, because I thought, well, if it's hand-me-down, you shouldn't be asking for something special. And what he was saying was, yeah, why is aesthetic beauty something that doesn't go across a stratification of class and access? Really? And rethink it, and he did. That's a kind of innovation and thinking that engaging our learners helps them create, right? Disrupting this. All right. So again, if someone asks you, you're not telling students what to think in any way. We are hopefully helping our learners become great, better question askers. Learning how to ask the right questions in all these contexts as they go along is what, in my opinion, lifelong learning and critical thinking is about. They are meaning makers in real world contexts. They're doing that regardless of whether our content asks them to do it in the safer learning environment of a classroom. So we ought to design our classes to do that. And I want to riff on a little Michael Wesch here. If you don't know Mike Wesch, he's a fabulous instructor at K-State who's reinvented pedagogy in large scale-up 400 cultural anthropology classrooms and other places. And he suggests when we do a backward design, Grant Wiggins, may he rest in peace, so said, Understanding by design, when you think about backward design, that start with the why. We tend to start with the what. What am I putting on my syllabus? What is the course content? What am I going to measure? All of those are very important. All he says is mess with yourself and start with the why is this content important? Why do my students need to know this, right? In what ways is this relevant, essential, and exciting? We should all be able to answer that. We came to our disciplines and our courses from some journey. And so for me, it's actually a moment to rediscover that if I have forgotten, because I'm in the factory model of production line with a course. It pulls me out of it. And that, of course, is a very, very important thing. How will your future professional in your classroom, wherever they're headed, whatever they want to be when they grow up, as they're discovering their passion and their talents in part of your classroom too, how are they going to apply and use this content? That should be a question we all can answer, right? We just maybe are not encouraged to enough. And then again, what kind of ethical dilemmas and intercultural global issues are part and parcel of your field or fields of study? Most of us have areas of study at this point in time. If you can answer that question, from those you can also backward design. All right. One of the nice things about case-based, it is one way in inquiry-based pedagogy and a curricular design to foster curiosity, questioning, reframing, and connection. I would love all undergraduates I see to come in with this as curiosity, right? And not the curiosity, as Wesh would say, of does this count? How many points is it worth? Can I get extra credit? But the what difference am I supposed to be making in the world? Who am I? In what context? How do I learn to listen and hear stakeholders, various stakeholders in different situations as I do, as I participate as a professional in whatever community, rather than hope that happens on its own. This again pulled from Wesh on his notion that the kind of curiosity we're looking for in the 21st century learner and curricular innovation is to move away from rote stuff and dump or strategic learning to deep learning, right? And I heard recently from a couple of students who say, yeah, we got this stuff and dump and we do that. If you ask me to memorize material, I can do it. But if you ask me to figure out all the sides of the issue on this debate, I'm going to own and operate that material after your class, right? And so right from their mouth, they want this, even if they resist us initially, and we have to have compassion about that because they come out of SOL, most of them public ed in the US, so they're not used to what you want to ask them to do, but invite them in to your learning community, and you can move through that. All right. Beginner's mind. So Ellen Langer talks about premature cognitive commitment, and that notion that through repetition, I'm becoming mindless in the learning, and how we disrupt that. So what you're actually encouraging is deep dive questioning rather than a kind of simple marching through. All right. Again, my question, I really agree with this statement, is that we should have content full. There's nothing educational light about any of this kind of approach, and purposeful learning outcomes, that's quite possible. And I'm going to spend a day and a half getting to do that and engage in that. And that we're not probably being responsible and responsive to all of our students if we're not fostering in every way we can a sense of agency and critically engaged self-reflexive awareness, moving your content to the outside world and back, and asking deep, rich questions. All right, I'm almost done. Here's the last one. I think most of you already do this, so I will learn from each other in the next day and a half. I think this is increasingly important, and some of you have talked with me or seen me do something here or elsewhere. No, I have this little short video to wind this up, to segue into Dennis and Tim, because it's like vitamins for me. It's a reminder of what our undergraduates, when they come out of here, are actually doing and engaging in the real world, and it's got a positive frame on it, and that's the part I think we forget. Because if you don't engage learners as you expose reality and ask hard questions with a sense of agency on how they would begin to be problem solvers, they're paralyzed intellectually and emotionally often, and that's not a good endpoint either. So, here you go.
Climate change, a suicide bomber,
Terrorism. Nuclear device in the heart of the nation's capital.
It's no wonder that we're pessimistic. It's no wonder that people think that the world is getting worse. But perhaps that's not the case.
Perhaps we forget that we've only just begun.
Doing what's never been done before is intellectually seductive, whether or not we deem it practical.
What we're seeing is unfathomably new possibilities all of a sudden becoming available to us.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
You have to trust in something. Your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever.
We truly are living in an extraordinary time, and many people forget this.
So now technically your device is on. Can you hear me?
The yearning to do what we do in the service of something larger than ourselves.
Where did we come from? Are we alone in the universe? What is the future of the human race?
When you conduct those exercises, innovation follows just as day follows night.
We can do this. I know we can because we've done it before.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
Thanks. So let's help our students